Hi, my name is Haces Febre, and this is going to be my science fair project on magnesium deficiencies. So first, we're going to be going over the major question. Next, we're going to be going over our research, then our hypothesis, the actual experiment, the analysis, and then the conclusion. So first, we're going to start with our major question. So, the context behind the experiment, what prompted me to do my experiment in the first place. So, first, the missing piece. So, studies within science are used to prove or disprove a hypothesis. Typically, the larger the scale of the test subjects, the more accurate the conclusion will be. However, there's a crucial element that this format is missing: the individual's perspective. In many cases, scientists can only report what the participants claim to have felt. However, the results can be much more complex than a single sentence response. As the scale gets bigger, obtaining personalized perspectives within each result is more complicated. So the question is, how could science benefit more from a detailed individual account? And my personal question, and what the hypothesis is going to be based over, is what forms of magnesium are the most beneficial for me as an individual, right? Because we're going to be focusing on an individual account, and in this case, it's going to be my individual account. So, research. Understanding magnesium deficiencies. Fruits and vegetables obtain their nutrients from soil, and when the soil is treated to yield a high number of crops, the health of the soil is neglected. Every harvest results in less nutrients produce, and as a result, less vitamin consumption. U.S. vitamin deficiency is a high-risk health problem. The immune system struggles to function adequately, which leaves the body vulnerable to attack. Magnesium deficiency is not typically noticed to a significant extent, so it goes unnoticed by most. But the statistics say it's a much bigger problem than we really realize. So, there's been a 23% decrease in nutrients in produce since 1955. That means that strawberries from 50, 60, 70 years ago, they were much more rich in vitamins, in all of these things that are really good for our bodies. They were also more rich in taste than they are now. So, 61% of adults have a magnesium deficiency, and 90% of teens have a magnesium deficiency. So, factors to keep in mind for my experiment: age: teenagers will require higher levels of magnesium as opposed to adults. Weight: less weight requires smaller dosages. Medication: it is important to check any potential medication interactions. Gender: women will require less magnesium than men. So, potential candidates for this experiment: we have magnesium glycinate, which is said to aid with anxiety, muscle inflammation, and insomnia. Magnesium malate, said to help with energy and fatigue. And magnesium L-threonate, said to help with energy levels and brain function. So magnesium glycinate, it is a bioavailable magnesium supplement that absorbs easily into the small intestine. It is shown to relieve anxiety, manage blood sugar, maintain normal heart rhythm, aid in sleep, reduce premenstrual syndrome. It can also aid with chronic fatigue and muscle cramps. It should begin to take effect a week after consistent dosage. So is this a good candidate? Yes. Magnesium malate. So since magnesium doesn't have a sufficient absorption rate on its own, it is combined with malate acid to create magnesium malate. So malate acid aids in the production of ATP, which increases energy, decreases muscle pain, improves endurance, and promotes skin health. Magnesium malate can help elevate mood, decrease anxiety, manage chronic pain, decrease depression, and reduce inflammation. However, magnesium malate takes 12 weeks of consistent dosage to work efficiently. So unfortunately, because of the time span, it would not be a good candidate for this experiment. Magnesium L-threonate. So it is the most beneficial form of magnesium for increasing magnesium ions in the brain. While still in the early stages of research, results have yielded the potential for magnesium to improve cognitive ability, energy, and memory. A 2019 study on mice found L-threonate to increase magnesium levels in CSF fluid, prevent loss of dopamine within neurons, and aid in preventing motor deficits. Results will appear after 1 month of consistent dosage, so yes, this is a good candidate. So, personal problems to tackle when it comes to magnesium supplements, or I guess why magnesium supplements make me a good candidate, or why I'm a good candidate for magnesium supplements. So, ADHD. I have ADHD and I take ADHD medication. So, ADHD medication has potential links with magnesium deficiencies. So, it is not to a super extreme level, however, it does have an impact on magnesium levels. Anxiety. Magnesium deficiencies can increase blood pressure, which leads to anxiety. I have a lot of anxiety. Insomnia. Magnesium deficiencies are correlated with decreased quality of sleep. And spinal tap. I had a spinal tap in September that led to something called pressure headache, which later turned into migraines, and it was something that I dealt with for months because the CSF fluid leaks, and that causes extreme headache pain. So, hypothesis. Planning the experiment. Procedures. So for my control factors, each factor is going to be weighed on a scale of 1 to 10, where 5 is considered the normal or the average. So it's not going to be weighed in the way that school is weighed. 50% is like a baseline. Both supplements will be measured on the same things as a form of control as well. Logs will be recorded around the same time each day. Materials will be magnesium glycinate supplements and magnesium L-threonate supplements. Procedure. For the span of 28 days, I will be taking magnesium glycinate. It will be taken 30 minutes before bed, and the result of that day will be logged at around 10 p.m. every night. For the next day, I will be taking magnesium L-threonate. It will be taken immediately upon waking up, and the result for that day will be logged at around 10 p.m. every night. At the end of the 2 months, the benefits will be evaluated. So they have different advantages, which is why they both need to be taken at different times. So that is why that is going to be like that. So I predict that magnesium L-threonate will benefit me the most because its energizing properties will allow me to wake up more easily and help build routine. My lack of routine and energy in the morning could potentially lead to an increase in other issues, such as anxiety, insomnia, motivation, etc., etc. So experiment. Let's fill in the data. So this is my month on magnesium glycinate. Here you can see kind of the progression of each of the days. Here's the second group, and then the third group. Now, I want to point out the significance of the outside factors, especially when compared to the outside factors that affected magnesium L-threonate. So here you can see the overall graphs of sleep, energy, mood, anxiety, brain function, memory, and physical state. Now, this is the month on magnesium L-threonate. Now, as opposed to magnesium glycinate, outside factors played a much heavier role in the progression of this month. Almost every single one was completely filled, or maybe every single one. And so these are the data graphs for magnesium L-threonate. And so, analysis. What does the data say? These graphs really reveal various trends. So for sleep, there was it increased in the first month and decreased slightly in the second. Energy heavily fluctuated on both. Mood increased in the first month and decreased in the second. Anxiety decreased in both months except at the end of the second month. Brain function stayed stagnant the first month and slightly increased the second. Memory didn't see much of a change in either month, and physical state decreased in both. So, accuracy. Despite what the results suggest, there were far too many circumstances to merit any accurate conclusion. It would not be fair to compare magnesium glycinate to magnesium L-threonate because my health was so poor for the duration of that month, along with several life events that hindered a lot of my abilities. For the entirety of the time that I was taking magnesium L-threonate, I was sick. And that, alongside with tests and other factors that all heavily contributed to a lot of the data. So, error analysis. The difficult aspect part of this experiment is that there was no technical error on my part. I took the pills at the same time. I took them every single day, and I remained consistent with all of my controls. Despite my caution, there were still so many factors that led to faulty results that were outside of my control. Just because my data didn't reflect a positive change doesn't mean that magnesium L-threonate didn't benefit me. Additionally, it is unclear whether magnesium L-threonate would have created a more significant change had I taken it before magnesium glycinate. Conclusion, what does it all mean? What this experiment reveals is how results can be intercepted without consideration, such as vital in reference to one's personal health. Vitamins or medications that could serve a long-term benefit to an individual could be hindered by circumstances one doesn't consider. Had my data not been so quantified, I myself may have made the conclusion that magnesium glycinate was the better option for me. This experiment shows the importance of looking at the bigger picture in terms of science. In mass-scale trials, it is nearly impossible to assess the individual situation of each individual, which reveals a massive gap of accuracy of certain results. So the question really is, are we doing enough? We can do more when it comes to gathering data. So the best way to measure the positive effects of a drug or a vitamin is by weighing as many factors as possible for an adequate amount of time. It is impossible to make an experiment completely flawless when it comes to a sort of trial situation, because life is unpredictable and health is unpredictable, but to merit accurate results, it is important to take them into account when possible. As we continue to study human health, it is crucial that these outside factors are accounted for. This will help decrease the margin of error. These are my sources. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation on magnesium deficiencies and the accuracy of science.